Okay, so tell me about yourself.
Okay, my name is Ted Schreer. I'm a student at KPU. I study criminology. I also work at a halfway house, and my interests are just in, social work, helping people. That's what I do at the halfway house. We work with offenders who are released on parole, and they're reintegrating into society. And so we're just working one-on-one with them to help them, de-institutionalize from prison and move back into society. And that's the kind of social work that I want to go into with probation.
Okay, so what kind of experience or credentials do you have that makes you a liable candidate for a probation officer?
Well, I have passed the GIBC course, taken a course and learned a lot from it. And in terms of experience, I do have a lot of hands-on experience working directly with offenders at my halfway house. I worked there for about 6 months. I work in close proximity with offenders, and I've gotten used to, building relationships with them and accommodating myself to their needs, because as someone coming from prison, they're kind of different than someone who's just on the outside in terms of like how they need to be talked to and stuff. And so, yeah, I think I'm good at building relationships with them.
What characteristics or values do you possess that would make you a liable probation officer?
I think I have strong empathy, and I'm really willing to give second, third chances and stuff. I do believe in the rehabilitation potential of offenders. So when they're coming out, I don't really look too much at what they did and judge them for it. I really, look at them as a person rather than as whatever offense they did. And I think for a probation officer, if you really need to do that if you're trying to build a relationship with your client. And I think I have that strong ability to do that.
Okay. So tell me about a time in which you did not succeed or have the desired outcome and how you dealt with that.
A time that I didn't succeed or had a desired outcome was probably when I interviewed at the CBA 2 summers ago. I interviewed twice at 6 months in between, and I really felt like I did a good job both times. And I did go far into the process. So for the CBA process, you have to be accepted initially for your application, and then you have to pass a test, which I passed, and then you go to the interview phase. And I didn't successfully complete the interview phase for both times, which is kind of, I was disappointed by that, because I felt like I had a good performance both times, especially the first time, where like after I really felt like I had the job coming out of the interview, and I guess I didn't. And so obviously I was disappointed by that, but I think it was for the better, because I'm in a completely different field now, whereas, the CBA is kind of more enforcement, you're enforcing the border, right? Versus like what I do now, which is working at a halfway house, potentially working as a probation officer, which is social work. That's less enforcement and more building relationships with people, working one-on-one with people. So even though I didn't, succeed there, I think it was ultimately for the better.
Okay, so how would you deal with an angry or near violent convict or client?
I have dealt with this situation at my current job, where this one resident of ours, he did have a history of mental health issues, just because he got beat up in prison, and so he had brain damage from it. And so he needed to be on his medication, and he wasn't on his medication. He had been off it for cold turkey for like 2 weeks at that point. And so he was just doing very poorly. He was very quick to anger, very irritable. And in this particular situation, this was on Christmas Day, he believed that his clothes had been stolen, where they really hadn't. He was just kind of hallucinating, or he had talked himself into believing that. And so he was accusing other residents of doing that. And he was doing so in a very aggressive manner. He was behaving very angrily. And so what I had to do in that situation, I was kind of frightened, because this is a big guy and he's like yelling at the top of his voice.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did was I talked to him, and I kind of de-escalated the situation. I talked softly. I just kept talking to him, trying to calm him down. I got him alone and gave him some space also. It was important for him to have some space to just, quiet down, calm down. So I talked to him and gave him some space, came back, went back to talk to him. I did that for a little bit, And so basically, I was able to calm him down enough to the point where he was no longer being threatening to our other residents where he had been before. And that action that I took was important because I could have just called the cops, and that action would have gotten him removed from the house. And so I think when I went to talk to him and succeeded in calming him down, that was good because it was ultimately for the good for him to be able to just relax. And now he's on his medications, he's doing okay. Whereas if he had, if I had called the cops, got him removed from the house, who knows where he'd be right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell me about a time in which someone was struggling or in need, and what role did you do to help?
A time when someone was struggling or in need, I would say that was earlier this year in February. A close friend of mine passed away. Not a close friend, a close friend of my close friends. Mm-hmm. And the person who had passed away, she was an old friend of mine as well. And so basically all I did was just be there for my friend, just talk to her about like anything, and just talk about our friend who we had lost. Mm-hmm. And that really helped her because she just needed someone to talk to. I wasn't, an expert in dealing with someone. I wasn't an expert, at talking to people who had lost people or anything. I was just talking as a friend and just giving her someone to, be there for. Mm-hmm. And just supporting her, and she supported me as well. So that was really nice, and we got through it together. And yeah, we had some good times talking about our lost friend, and we were both better for it.
That's nice. Okay, so do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I was just wondering what qualities you think a probation officer should have, and really what the day-to-day activities of a probation officer are.
Okay.